was passing out a little packet of information, I thought I'd introduce myself to those of you that don't know me. I'm Stephanie's husband.
Hey, Stephanie, husband.
He even says it on my name tag.
Here you go, man.
If you don't get that joke, just ask somebody next to you, they'll explain it.
There you go.
When we were asked to talk about this topic, I was stunned. I was pretty much like, well, I need somebody to talk to me about blended families. But we've endured a number of years, and I thought what we would do is just share some reflection. We're not going to insult your intelligence by reading that whole packet of information, but we are going to lift some topics out of that and talk to you about that. But before we do, we'd invite you, if you have questions, either during our conversation in the time we have to please just interject those things. It'll go a whole lot easier on Stephanie, who does not appreciate talking in front of a large crowd of people. Just get the juices flowing. So as we were preparing last night, I turned to Stephanie and I said, well, honey, that's what I call it sometimes.
She tell you to call me.
And I ain't mad about it.
Silly.
I said, honey, what's the hardest thing about being in a blended family? And she said,
I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember what I said last night. We talked about so many different things. Oh, this?
what's the hardest thing about being in a blended family? To you.
To me.
It don't matter what you say. Say something else.
It was good what I said last night. That's what I'm trying to remember what I said. I remember now. The fact that when you get married, of course, yes, you're in love with the person that you're getting married to, hopefully. And the fact that, yes, we were all ready to be together, live in a house, and, you just have this kind of stupid mindset that the kids that you're bringing into the marriage are going to feel the same way you do about each other. And that ain't the case. So that to me was the hardest part, is I wanted everything to gel right then and there, but it takes time. So to me, that was kind of the hardest part about having a blended family.
That's it? That's all you want to give them? You ain't got no more?
No.
Okay. All right. You made me do all of that. We love y'all.
Sorry, but he's a teacher, so he talks in front of people all day, so he can talk, I'll interject.
Okay. We'll go that route. One of the things that I should just put out on the table is that I'm a product of a blended family. Had that experience growing up, almost like my son has, in that my parents were divorced at an early age. My mother and I moved about probably about 800 miles away from my father. So the time that I got to spend with my father and his family, or my part of my family now, was only spent during the summer and maybe Christmas. And so one of the things that I became aware of walking into our relationship is what I did not want for my son was him to think that he didn't have a place. So one of the things that I had to deal with growing up was, well, we got to pull out some clothes out of a drawer. We got to make an extra extra space for you. There was no place that was mine.
All right.
Okay? And so one of the things that's interesting about a blended family is this notion that, you know, everybody has to fit together. Everybody has to have a place. Not a place that you know, go up to the attic and pull out the futon and okay, you're here, so now we made a space for you. But a place that they know it's always there, it's always prepared. And so that is one of the challenges is just to let everybody know that you have a prepared place in this family. It's not unique. It's not going to get put up. It's not going to get rolled out. I remember as a youth, I used to sleep a lot on a rollaway bed that got stuck in the basement when I wasn't there, and did not feel too good. I just felt like I was extra. Some of our activities that we dealt with, you know, the kids, my brothers and sisters would have already been enrolled in, you know, baseball or this or that, and I just kind of tagged along. Well, take your brother with you. Okay, and so to some degree, you can't avoid that because life goes on. But you have to make room for everybody that's in the family so that they feel like they are an integral part. And when they're gone, they're missed, not forgotten.
Right.
And just so that you understand, one thing we didn't say is I thought we should mention, the way our family is blended, we've both been married before. He has one son, I have a son and a daughter. Okay.
Amen. So it takes time to find your footing. One of the things that I struggle with, and that we will both struggle with, because we're going into a new phase of our blended family as my son is moving here and going to be here full time. Praise the Lord. Is knowing what your role is in a blended family. It's very difficult to know your space in relationship to both the children and to each other. It's real easy, and one of the things that the article points out is that there will be times when your schedule is dictated by an adult that is not in the house. And trust me, that doesn't feel too good all the time. And so one of the challenges in that, or one of the opportunities, is to come together in a family and stake out, this is us. This is definable us. This is the unchangeable us. This is the thing that nobody gets to intrude on this space. And you'll struggle with that. We certainly struggle with that. We're getting better at it, which is a good thing. We talked last night and we said, man, we wish that we would have found this information out before we started on this journey. Marriage is hard work.
Amen.
Amen.
Being in a blended family takes that to another level.
Right.
Something one of the articles pointed out that I actually liked, that I read, was that most families have, most couples have family trees. Step families have forced, because you've got the couple, you've got the biological parents, you've got the grandparents on your side, you got the grandparents on his side, aunts, uncles, cousins. So it's just a lot of people involved. So when they say that step families have forces, it's true.
And you have to foster those relationships. They don't come into being overnight. But as the husband and the wife, you have to take responsibility to make sure that there's opportunity for those relationships to grow. And sometimes there's some pruning going on. Sometimes you've got to, when you want to prune, for example, you might be like, I had to go handle that because that one is yours. And even though I want to lay hands.
It's true. It's true. I yelled at him, Doug, get your boy. Just, if that's yours, go get him.
So you have to know your limits and your boundaries. One of the things that we had a challenge was in defining those roles was when we first got together. Stephanie told me, "Well, I want this from you," and you know, being a man, I took that literally and said, "Okay." That's right.
Right on.
I come to find out that's not what she really meant.
Right.
Okay? And that understanding only came to me recently. So we've been together almost 9 years. Thank you. And it's been a struggle for me personally. And one of the things I told her last night was, number one, I should have got some thicker skin. Okay, because if you're in a blended family, your feelings are bound to get hurt sooner or later. Even under the best intentions, you're likely to move into a space that your presence is not desired.
Amen.
Okay?
That's true.
And so you've got to have some thick skin. But the other part of it is when that role definition comes forth, you have to be intentional about what you want and clear about what you want. And so it's not a one-time process. Those roles and those definitions can change over time and should evolve over time as that forest starts to not only sprout upward but sprout downward and gets rooted and everybody is comfortable. But without it, it's rather difficult. It really is. One of the things that the articles kind of underline is that blended families are like cooking in a crock pot. Okay? And so if you cook something in a crock pot for 5 minutes, it's still raw. The flavor isn't soaked in. The meat isn't pulling apart from each other. You're not getting all that succulent juice going in there. It's just nasty, right? But if you let that thing cook overnight, you know, you wake up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, or you just, oh, what is that, right? You start smelling all that flavor, all that aroma. Right? And so the author suggests that a good blended family, is akin to an overnight slow cooking process.
All right.
That process that you take time and you enjoy that journey along the way.
It also states that for some of the younger the families that get married that are, like say one couple has a younger child and the other one doesn't, that the younger families, they can tend to become stew quicker than couples that have older siblings. They say that usually the ones that are younger, it takes anywhere from 2 to 4 years, that quick. But with someone that has kids like our age when we got together, it could take up to 7 years for you to start operating as a family, even though you know this is not your biological father, this is not your biological mother. But they say it could take up to 7 years. I mean, I think it depends on the couple. I think it depends on the family. One thing he has done with my children is he's got a relationship separately with them, outside of me. And he did awesome with taking the initiative on that. There was a summer, him and Ashanti were together all summer, and they have their little spot they like to go eat, and they clicked. And that wasn't, but what, maybe 3-4 years ago? At least.
Oh, that was 5 years ago.
5 years ago. We've been married, it'll be 9 years, so It took them that long to click. Elijah, I think him and Elijah clicked quicker because Elijah was younger when we got together. His son, I'm still working on that.
Pray for them.
I'm still working on that.
Would y'all point your hands in the name?
No, it's not a bad thing. I'm still working on it. And he knows this summer, just for the few weeks he was here, I made baby steps. And it's like I told him last night, he's here all summer long, every spring break, every other Christmas. And so when he's here for the summer, the first part of the summer, I'm kind of a drill sergeant at my house. Everything has its place and it needs to be clean and it needs to stay there. It's different that way. So, and the kids know we have Spit Shine Saturday. That's the only time I really make them dust, vacuum, all that stuff. Everything else, just clean up after yourself throughout the week. It's not always that way with his son's home in Chicago. So that first part of the summer, I'm spending... Thank you. Putting him on my program. And so by the time when it's time for him to go home, that's when I'm starting to get used to him being there. And I'm like, well, dang it, now it's time for him to go home. So I am working on kind of trying to pull back and making him get after his son more than me. So I'm not the drill sergeant around the house when it comes to his child, because he looks at me as the warden. And he's flat out told me and his father that he's scared of me. And I'm like, I didn't do anything to you. But it's just, I talk to him exactly the way I talk to my kids. Just like I talk to Lisa and Imani. That's how I talk to all kids like that. I don't care who they are. If I love them and care about them, I'll yell at you if I need to.
There we go. Because I'm the grown-up. I'm the grown-up.
That's right. I pay bills. So that's why I don't talk to him any differently. And he's not used to that. And that's one thing he said. I said, well, you're going to have to get some thicker skin because this is how I do. And this summer, though, we had a little bit of a breakthrough. He's a very sweet kid. Very helpful. Does not mouth off to me when I ask him to do something. He gets up and does it. And I let him know I appreciate that. And looked at his other siblings and was like, I wish y'all would take a lesson from this one because that's a whole different story. But he did, I think I scared the mess out of him this summer because I have a pond in my backyard. They cleaned it out. And I said, well, I'm sure it's not anything like what I would do. That pond was exactly the way I would have cleaned it out, and his son did it. Right. And so I think he's used to hearing me say, did you clean it like I would? And he goes, yes. And Elijah's like, Mom, no one cleans it like you do. So. But I walked down the stairs, and he was downstairs playing a game, and I said, Savon, stand up. And he just jumped up and was like, what do I do now? I said, come here. I grabbed his face, I gave him a big old kiss and hug, and told him thank you for cleaning up the pond. I appreciate it. And he just kind of was like, okay. No problem. Can I go back to playing my game now? I said, yeah, go ahead. So I'm baby steps. I'm trying to get there. And I want to get there. And I think we will. We just need time. So, there you go.
Just keep loving.
Okay.
Keep on loving.
Yes.
Keep on loving.
So since this is a marriage retreat, I didn't want us to focus all of our time on the kids. I wanted to talk about us, husband and wife, not just us, but all of y'all. And I alluded to this earlier, defining that space that is uniquely yours. So often in a blended family, you can be called out of that role that you think that you're wanting to be in because you've got to deal with the other person, the other parent. And if Johnny, we don't have any Johnnies in here. Oh, we got Johnny. We don't have any Ralphs. Well, Ralph calls on the phone and says, well, I need to talk to you. Can you meet me somewhere at 9:30 at night? And it's, about little rocky knucklehead that you guys are having problems with. As a parent, you feel compelled to, go handle that because that's your child. And there's nothing wrong with having that feeling, but you have to weigh that against what are you saying to your spouse? what are you saying to your spouse that you would just rise up in the middle of the night and go talk to them?
Yeah.
These are conversations that you need to have
Yeah.
before that happens.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Makes a
Uh-huh.
lot
Yep.
of sense. On peace
What
in
you
the house.
don't want to do is make your spouse feel like they're less than the person that you're not married to, or less if you've never been married, less than this person that the only tie you have now is to this child or these children. They need to be the most important thing in the room, not the person that's on the phone. And that's a hard one to swallow sometimes, because you're talking about your babies, right? You're talking about, extended family, that forest instead of that trunk. Okay, and they all are important. We don't want to, everybody has a role to play, but my son's mother is not more important than my red. Those of y'all that been on the bus, y'all know about my red.
Amen.
If you haven't been on the bus, get on the bus.
Get on the bus.
Get on the bus.
Run the roundabout.
So, some of what we've learned or culled out of this, you'll hear again, and you've heard before. Things like making time for each other. It's hard doing that. It don't matter if you're in a blended family or not, right? When you've got kids, or even when you don't have, even if your children are going out the house, it's, you've got things that fill up that time, right? So spending time with your spouse is important. We didn't talk about the ghosts. One of the things that is, I think, critically important is to leave your past in the past.
Amen. Amen.
Leave your past in the past. I am not the ex. She is not the ex. We come in, we might have that. Mom did a sermon, it's been a number of years, when you brought all the bags. And you said, leave your baggage behind. You don't want to gate check your baggage. You want to bring that on board with you on this new journey.
Amen.
You want to leave that in the past. The things that you used to do with that other person, you're not doing no more. It's a new day. It's a new person. Right?
Amen.
You guys have to identify some things that you guys have in common. After all, y'all did get married.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
there got to be something there beside good looks.
Amen.
I mean, I know I can't help it because I look good and everything. But it's got to be, sooner or later, my outwardly handsomeness is going to be supplanted by my inwardly charm, right? And so there's got to be something in there. Sooner or later, you're going to have to rely on what you have in common to pull you through, because you're going to have some difficult times as a blended family. Okay, all families go through difficult times, but there's going to be some times when I'm going to walk in the door, get off the phone with my son's mother, and Steph is going to look at me, and she's already going to know that there's something wrong. I know that there are times when Steph comes in, I already know that something has transpired. And she may or may not want to talk about it, and that's fine. But I know that I need to do some of this right here.
Right.
Even if you don't say a word, and she might say, get off me, because if you touch me, I'm going to break down and cry. Okay, and that's all right. Or I might do the same thing, right? But we have to know that we're here for each other. The worst thing in the world is to feel like you're on the ship by yourself in a blended family.
And with the families, and he's talking about spending time together as a couple, one of the things that's also very important is to let your kids know that, okay, when you've had your time with us, go away. We want some time to ourselves. So that kind of lets them know, okay, they really mean business. They are a unit, and we're stuck, basically. So letting them know that you want your one-on-one time. Keep your date nights. Don't let anything, blended family or not blended family, keep your date nights. Don't let anything come in between those. I've missed some of my, I never miss any of my kids' games, but I started doing that because I'm like, well, I need some time with Doug.
Amen. Did I get it right, brother?
You got it there.
You have a whole season left for basketball, baseball, whatever sport you in this season, and you know they get a little upset, but they get over it. I mean, they're kids. They'll regroup.
And I think the important thing there is we're modeling, you know, what a blended or not, we as husband and wife, we're modeling what a marriage should be for our children. And so if we give them all the time, that's sending in my opinion, a very dangerous message. Okay, it's not sending a message of balance, of respect for everybody's importance. It just says you're the most important thing in the world, and you will always be the most important thing in the world. And when they grow up, they have that sense of entitlement.
Well, because I mean, you think about it, blended or not, when the kids grow up and they leave, it's just you two.
Amen. There's perks.
So we want to give you guys a chance to ask some questions or put something out there in the universe before we have our seat. Anybody have anything that?
So the topic is yours, mine, and ours. So where does it ever get to the point where it's no more yours and mine, but it becomes ours?
It's all Stephanie's.
We refer to each other's children as ours. When Ashanti's in trouble, your daughter's on my nerves. When Elijah's in trouble, your son's on my nerves. I mean, even though we know who their biological parents are, he still takes care of them while taking care of me. I still take care of Savon while taking care of him. This, even though we have, like I said, the biological parents, this is our family. And if somebody don't like it, oh well. Sorry, I don't mean to be like that, but that's just how I see it.
I will never refer to any of the kids as stepchildren.
Yeah.
Amen.
He has an issue with that.
I know that there's might be some folks that don't necessarily appreciate that distinction, but having been a product of that,
That's right.
the worst label that you can put on a child
Yes.
is step. They're my kids. I will treat them like my kids. I will take a bullet. I don't want to take a bullet, but
I sure will throw some.
I have to.
I agree.
Yes, Mrs. Moore.
Just kind of what you were saying earlier, what we did when we got married, when we did our premarital counseling, we also did premarital counseling with our kids. We had to do counseling with our kids to kind of blend our kids.
That's a good idea.
Just because Chris has 2 and I have 3. And it was important for me to make sure that our kids blended. Well, his daughter was brought up with my 3 kids, but his son didn't know my kids. So we did try to kind of blend, which, like you were saying, it always don't gel together.
Right.
It was kind of hard for his son to kind of blend with my older ones. There was only one that didn't blend, and it's always that kind of that bad apple in the bunch. But we did do the kind of the counseling there. And then another thing you said too was we tried to make sure that it always comes up. We want to make sure that the kids always feel important. I always try to make sure that when they came over, they had their own spots. Like when his daughter would come over, she had a spot in the house where this is her room, this is your spot, you know. You didn't have like a roll-out bed, this is your bed, this is your room, we can decorate it however. So she felt like she was welcome. This ain't just a drop-in, or this is just not the weekend thing, this is your room. So she felt like she was loved. It wasn't like you have to share a room with Tyler, or you have to share a room with Shay. This is your room. And another thing too was, they always dropped that line up when you was mad at somebody. You're not my dad.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me, you know, it's always gonna be that hurt spot in there. So we always went through that part in our marriage, and that was a hard part, and we went through that, but the whole time was we made sure the communication in our marriage was always open. You're not gonna come between us. Because this is my husband. I made that vow with him. And you're not gonna break it up. Because I'm not going back to your dad. And this is my husband. When you're grown and gone, he's still gonna be my husband. So I made it a point that we're gonna work through this, and we're gonna make sure that you're grown and you're out the house. So you're gonna go back and you're gonna apologize to him. He's not your dad. He's not going to take your place as your father. So you can tell him that he's not your father, but he's still going to be there. So he always made it a point. He's going to take care of you like he's your father, and he's going to continue to do for you. And he's a loving person. So, you know, those words hurt, but still he made sure that he took care of her. You know, and one thing we did do for them is I tried to show them that regardless, I let the absent parent, I say absent parent, we let them know that on the same, we don't argue amongst them. We let them know I embrace the absent parent as if I'm your friend. I let them know, I hug the absent parent, let her know that, you know, we friends, we talk amongst each other. We can get together in the same room, we can sit down and have a meal together. Let them know that we friends, so it's not no harsh words or anything like that. Regardless if dad don't get along with her, we can still communicate together. So the child knows that I'm not trying to be your mother, I'm trying to be your best friend. So if you can't come to your mom and talk to your mom about something, you can come to me. Even though I'm gonna still tell mom, you can't tell mom, you know. Yeah. But, you know, that's how a blended family should come together, you know.
And you're gonna have some failures. You're gonna stub your toe, skin your knee, bust your head open a couple times. But you just gotta, okay. But you know, you just kiss the boo boo and keep it moving.
Yeah.
And over time, it'll get easier.
My experience was different. I'm a product of a blended family. Actually, I guess you can call it a double blended family. My grandparents raised me until my mom got out of prison when I was a sophomore in high school. And when she got out, my grandparents let us move back in with my mom, and then her boyfriend moved in as well. And then they got married my senior year. I actually got along better with my stepdad than I did with my mother. So my experience was a lot different. To this day, I still have a real relationship with my pop. Me and my mother, we have our moments, but so having a blended family can be a good thing too. So it's not all bad, because Lorenzo was awesome. You know, I respected him a lot because he married my mom, and she had 5 kids already, and he took care of every one of us. Granted, when they were married, I was a senior in high school and I was leaving, but you know, I never had a problem with him. He said, "These are your rules. This is what I need you to do." We didn't have a problem. Now my other siblings had issues with him with both of them, because they were used to the rules of our grandparents. So not all blended families have struggles.
Yeah.
At least they do.
Sister Jakes?
Okay.
Keep the camera off, Mom.
Okay.
I would just like to say, touch on what you said earlier, Brother Doug, when you were talking about your perimeter as a family, also being a product of having well, I hate to say stepfather, but he wasn't my biological father, and we grew up in the house where what we did within our, fence was the family. Everybody else on the outside was just that, to the point where my sisters and brothers didn't know I was their half sister till we were well into our teens, because my dad was the head. He never used the word step. He never used the word half, and we understood there were certain things we took to mom, there were certain things we took to dad, and we blended well. Like I said, when my brother found out, which his name was shorter and mine was William, so I don't know why they didn't know. But it was one of those things, and they looked at one way and I looked at another way. But that was just the love that my dad had for us, and he worked. No one had any special things, When one got, all got it. So we say blended, but it's all about showing love.
Yeah.
I don't care, because we can have a lot of things and don't have love, and it don't work. So if kids are like this, you can't fool them. They know genuine love. They know when you're just doing it out of obligation to make sure mama stays happy, to make sure daddy stays happy. But when a person tells you they love you, they make time for you, and they show it, then that's going to blend you regardless, of what it is. Whether it's a little puppy or in a cat. If you show it love, it's going to grow, number one. And the love and the respect will be there. So I think as a whole, since we're finding more blended families, especially in the church, we have to understand love covers it all. Love and respect.
Amen.
I'm married. When I met my wife, she had 2 kids already. One was 15. Corey was 8 years old, and I was 22. And I had a son, he was back in New York. We were estranged then, and we're estranged now. My son and I. My fault in that. And I had to come into a house and to understand, how do I establish this household as being the head of it, at the same time not being the authoritative figure, because I have a somewhat dominant personality. I had to understand it. But one thing that we did, no matter what we might have been going through early in the marriage, there was never any disunity in the front of the kids.
Right.
Regardless of that, we kept adult business with adults. And with our daughter, we hit it off instantly, because both of us like Lord of the Rings. So there was instant common ground. My grandson was 6 months old at the time, so he was kind of. But with my son, I found out that with him, it wasn't so much the love aspect of it as it was the respect aspect of it. He needed to find a man that he could respect, and he only respected me behind how I treated his mother. And that kind of a thing. So my establishment of the biblical authority of my household was based on how I would come in there and follow Christ and try to walk according to what I said I believed. And believe me, he watched.
All right.
He definitely watched. We're real close now. We call him dad and pop and all that kind of stuff. We know his father's here. But it was just, how do I adjust to make this thing? And I just simply kind of went to Ephesians chapter 5 with it. Husbands, love your wife, provoke not your children to anger. Amen. Those kind of biblical principles that allowed me to see, okay, this is a foreign role to me. I don't know how to do it, so I need to find out how to do it. And so far, so good.
Amen.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'm gonna put my in there. When God gave me my good thing, first thing I did after I told her she's gonna be my wife and all that. That God told me, I told her. So, and then I
use your
anyway.
playground voice.
They can't hear you, hop over.
What I did was I went into the house. I introduced myself to her sons, which is my sons, and I told them what my intent was. I took them out to dinner. Took all 3 of them, told them who I was, where I'm from, what my background was, and that I ain't going nowhere. Because, you know, I came up without dad. I knew how that environment can be. As the oldest son, I knew all the animosity I had with anybody that came up with my mama. I didn't like them from the word go. I don't care how much candy you bought me. We just wasn't gonna get along. And so when I prayed about this is what God told me to do, and that's what I did. I took them out, I introduced myself, and I explained to them what my plan was. I wasn't going nowhere. I'm not just going in and out. I'm here to stay. And I'm not your dad, but I am going to be the head of this household. These are going to be the rules. I'm going to treat you like you're my own sons, because you are. I got 3 that God birthed me, and then I got 3 that God gave me, and all of them belongs to me. Okay? And then after we went through that little spiel, I went to their dads, and I talked to their dads. I explained to them, you had her when you had her. Now she's mine.
All right.
Okay? I don't have no problem with your relationship with her and the kids. Don't disrespect my house.
Come on.
And now the dads and I and the kids and I, we all happy. We still have problems. But one of them is not being disrespectful to each other or having any quarrels with each other. Because if you're going to come into a family, you call it blended, it's still a family. Because everybody's involved. Family is forever. And you're not going to change those kids' lives. You ain't going to change their mind. You ain't going to change their thoughts until you change their heart.
That's it.
And when you change their heart, then you have their mind.
Right.
And when you have their mind and their heart, you have your family.
Praise God.
That's what you got. And it got to be God did. You can only do it, you can't do it no other way. It got to be godly. And it got to be done by God's standards, and it got to be decent and in order. And when you start talking about their family, their father or their mother, you're making the enemy. Right. Trust and believe. I lived that life as a child. You're making the enemy. So if you respect their mother and their father, and then you let them know this is just grown folks done changed their way they felt about each other, and it had nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
We still love you the same, and we got to deal with that. Okay? But this is my wife. You will respect her. You don't have to like her. That's my job.
That's good.
You don't got to love her. That's my pleasure. But you will respect her, or you won't be in here. All right. That's
Can we get up?
I want to ask Pastor Reverend Hopper a question. When you went to approach the other man,
yes, ma'am.
were you packing? Don't answer that question. Don't answer that question.
Brother Hopper, she must have heard me because I told Doug, I said,
I was practicing praise.
Okay, now, me and Tony, we can relate because like we talked earlier on blended families. You know, I used to be married before and she was married before. So, you know, we both had expectations coming into the marriage. But, you know, sometimes when we expect things to be a certain way, they don't always pan out that way. Because, you know, the devil was busy in our marriage, okay? You know, I can recall a certain situation, you know, on our wedding night. I mean...
Oh, that's all right, dog.
And, you know, until, you know, I opened my heart up to God, you know, I started praying to God, like, please, God, you know, do not let this marriage fail because, you know, I've been through the hurt and pain already, you know. I don't want to go through this no more. And I'm pretty sure, you know, she felt the same way, too. You know, she's been down that road, been hurt, been lied to, whatever, etc. And, you know, until, you know, I got strong in God, you know, all that negativity started leaving our household, you know. You know, it all just started going out the front door.
Right.
But, you know, I'm not saying my marriage has been all rocky road. It hasn't been. You know, we've had some good times. We had the bad times. More good times than bad. You know?
Amen.
And that's all I have to say.
I call that Roman.
So I know I look like really young, so you don't know. But we have a 24-year-old, and when me and him got together, my son was 2, and I think that it also needs to be known that sometimes when you bring another man in the household where you think the man is going to be better than the biological father, you can't say things bad about the biological father to the child because you're adding fuel to the fire. So if I want him to respect him, then I can't say, you know, he's here, your dad's not, your dad, you know, is a piece of crap, blah, 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 because then he will never respect him.
Exactly.
So I never talk bad about my son's father. I never talk anything to him bad about him, even though he didn't see him, he wasn't in his life, he came around every 2 months, whatever the case would be. I still never denied him to see his father and never disrespected his father in front of him. When my son turned 18, he came to my husband and he's like, I finally realized you were the one that's been there for me the entire time. So they're very close now, but it took him, because there was a lot of button heads all the way through, but I still said what you said, you know, he's here, he's not going anywhere, even though, you know, we were off and on, he still knew him as the father figure. But I still did not respect his biological father either, because I felt like that would just make him hate him even more.
Right.
So sometimes the mom has to also shut her mouth and help be respectful so that they can have a relationship.
That's good.
And on that note, okay.
I saw you throw your hand up, Roger. Are you?
Oh, no, I was
Okay.
listening to praise
Okay.
the Lord.
Okay. Okay, basically in the end, all we're gonna say is what the last part of this article says is that there is a honeymoon for blended family couples. It just comes at the end of your journey and not at the beginning. Thank you.